Hello, it's Wednesday, September 13th at the Raiders facility. As the Raiders prepare to face the New York Jets Sunday at the Coliseum. I'm here with Matt Schneidman. And to no one's surprise, the Raiders were taking the Jets seriously today. The Jets are considered to be one of the NFL's worst teams. Candidate for 1-15, Sam Darnold, the first draft pick, all that, but you'd never know that from listening to Coach Jack Del Rio and quarterback Derek Carr.
Probably have one of the better fronts in the league. Our defensive front is as talented as any that we'll face. They're very aggressive in their scheme. And the two safeties they drafted are, we think, really good football players.
Yeah, I don't think we expected either of them to come in and say, oh yeah, the Jets are tanking, this should be an easy win for us. In all likelihood it will be, but they both pointed out some pretty notable defensive players, at least on paper, that the Jets have. Their first two picks in the draft this year, Jamal Adams, number 6 overall, the safety out of LSU, and then Marcus May, the safety from Florida, are both in the defensive backfield for the Jets. Could pose some problems for Carr, maybe not.
And then their corners are super fast, super talented. They have a first-round pick in that group. Anytime you're a first-round pick, you were a first-round pick for a reason. So they have talent everywhere, and they're very well coached.
They also have Leonard Williams and Muhammad Wilkerson as defensive ends. They did get rid of Sheldon Richardson, who's now on the Seahawks. So obviously the Raiders are not going to downplay the Jets as a whole. But yes, they do have some formidable defensive pieces that could challenge the Raiders. The Jets did have one of the best run defenses in the league last year, so it'll be interesting to watch, as much as we think the Jets might be tanking.
As you might notice from time to time, we are backed up to the Oakland airport here. Bear with us. Second order of business today is I got a chance to talk to Khalil Mack today in front of his locker while other interview sessions were going on. Mack didn't register a sack last week, but was Pro Football Focus's highest-rated defensive lineman for his performance against Tennessee, with 5 pressures and 3 stops for either losses or no gain, missed a fumble recovery. But he's still graded out higher than Calais Campbell, who had 4 sacks in his game. So that shows how dominant Mack is, and he was doing it while being both double and triple teamed. As Coach Todd Bowles told us during a conference call, we need to use 5 or 6 blockers against him. Talked to Mack a little bit about the offseason and what it was like to sit there and watch as the Raiders added offensive players in free agency, and the only defensive player, Jelani Jenkins, was a guy they cut. And Mack said, yeah, he and Bruce Irvin and others had talked about it a little bit, but he said that the mindset is basically, you've got who you've got, we're all we've got, and we're all we need, and he looks to build on the performance this week. Third item of business is the Raiders obviously were pushing the ball to Amari Cooper in the red zone. That was the one thing last year that they did not do very often. Cooper only had 5 touchdowns, not a big total for a receiver of his skill set.
Yeah, you saw that in the first quarter alone on Sunday. The Raiders targeted Amari Cooper 4 times in the red zone. In any of his 32 prior games in his first 2 seasons, he did not receive more than 2 red zone targets in an entire game. So clearly, from the get-go, a focus on getting him the ball more. Cooper talked a little bit today about his touchdown there on the Raiders' first drive, where he kind of used the ball to prop himself up after it looked like he was tackled, and then he, along with the help of his teammates, his bigger offensive lineman, was able to muscle in for the score.
It was a real fun play. Caught the ball, the guy tried to tackle me. I knew that I wasn't on the ground, so I stayed up and just kind of let the guys push me in. So it was real fun.
So obviously Derek Carr talked about it a little bit too, more of an emphasis to get arguably his best receiver the ball more down near the goal line.
Finally, a couple other orders of business. It looks like, according to NFL Network, that Donald Penn is nearing a 2-year contract extension, which basically is going to give him a few more $1 million for this year. It probably doesn't contain any guarantees for next season. But what Penn was looking for is something closer to the upper echelon of what the top left tackles make, and I'm guessing it's probably going to come in around then. He was scheduled to make $5.8 million. Don't be surprised if it's closer to a little over $9 million this year in actual cash. Other note, fullback Jamize Olawale was padded up and practicing and looking like he was going to do some serious work today. Now we'll see how that goes as the week goes along. Against the Jets, they may opt to sit him another week, but he may actually get a shot to play. The Raiders did well without him, mostly by going through a lot of empty back sets against the Titans, and didn't use a fullback, obviously, since they didn't have him. But they didn't line up tight ends much in the backfield either, or use guards. So Olawale gives them an added bit of versatility. Finally, look for my story posting early tomorrow morning on the coin toss. It may not sound like a big deal, but against
it's a big deal.
Against Tennessee was the first time in 19 games as head coach of the Raiders that Jack Del Rio opted to receive after winning the coin toss. He had deferred 19 straight times, and of course we all know what happened. He opted to receive. The Raiders got an onside kick. They scored a touchdown. They never trailed in the game. Talked to some players about that. Now Coach Del Rio doesn't want to talk about it at all because it's strategy, but I still think it's an interesting story, and check it out in the morning. This is Jerry McDonald with Matt Schneidman. You can read all our stuff on BayAreaNewsGroup.com, MercuryNews.com, EastBayTimes.com. Thanks and have a great day.
It's been 3 days in a row, y'all coming over. Told that the kick rock, she act like it's a photo.